Alchemy, often misunderstood as a primitive form of chemistry or the pursuit of turning base metals into gold, is actually a profound spiritual and philosophical tradition. Its roots stretch deep into ancient history, blending mysticism, science, and esoteric wisdom. One of the central texts in alchemical thought is the Emerald Tablet, a cryptic yet highly influential piece of writing attributed to the legendary figure Hermes Trismegistus. This text has been a source of inspiration for philosophers, scientists, and spiritual seekers for centuries, and its message offers profound insights into both the workings of the universe and the process of spiritual transformation. In this exploration of the Emerald Tablet, we will unlock the secrets of this ancient wisdom, diving into the mysteries of alchemy and how its teachings can be applied to personal growth, spiritual enlightenment, and a deeper understanding of reality. The Emerald Tablet, though brief in its content, holds the key to the Hermetic principles, which encompass both the physical and metaphysical aspects of the cosmos. Through understanding these principles, we can achieve not only material success but also the transformation of the soul, a process known as the Great Work. The Emerald Tablet, also known as the Tabula Smaragdina, is a short, cryptic text believed to have been written by Hermes Trismegistus, an amalgamation of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth, who is considered the god of wisdom, writing, and magic. Hermes Trismegistus is a figure often credited with the foundational writings of the Hermetic tradition, a body of esoteric knowledge that includes philosophy, mysticism, and alchemy. According to legend, the Emerald Tablet was found in the tomb of Hermes Trismegistus, inscribed on a tablet of green stone, hence its name. While the origins of the Emerald Tablet are shrouded in mystery, it is thought to have originated in the ancient Egyptian or Greek world, before becoming a central text in the Islamic Golden Age and later being passed down through the hands of medieval alchemists in Europe. Its influence spans a vast period of history, inspiring not only alchemists but also philosophers such as Plato, Aristotle, and Isaac Newton. The content of the Emerald Tablet is brief, consisting of just a few lines of dense, metaphorical language. Yet within those few lines lies a wealth of knowledge about the nature of the cosmos and the process of spiritual alchemy. Central to its teachings is the idea of unity between the microcosm and the macrocosm. That is, the individual and the universe are reflections of one another. This concept of correspondence is foundational to alchemical thinking and helps explain the transformative power of alchemy not only as a physical science but as a spiritual practice. As above, so below, the core teaching of the Emerald Tablet. One of the most famous and oft-repeated phrases from the Emerald Tablet is the maxim, "That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing." This statement forms the essence of alchemical philosophy. The phrase, "as above, so below," expresses the belief that the same patterns, laws, and principles govern both the heavens and the earth. In alchemy, this concept is crucial for understanding the interconnectedness of all things and how the transformations we seek in the physical world are reflections of deeper, spiritual transformations. In a practical sense, alchemists sought to understand the laws of the universe through experimentation with material substances. Their goal was not just to turn lead into gold, this was merely symbolic, but to find a way to perfect both matter and spirit. In their work, alchemists believed that by refining and transforming material substances, they were participating in a cosmic process of purification and enlightenment that mirrored their own inner journey. The principle of correspondence, "as above, so below," also teaches that we are not separate from the universe, but rather integral parts of it. Our actions, thoughts, and spiritual state influence the world around us, just as the movements of the planets and stars affect our lives. This is a core belief in Hermeticism and reflects the holistic view that there is a divine order to the cosmos, one that can be understood and utilized for personal growth and transformation. The Emerald Tablet goes on to outline 3 key disciplines that are necessary for understanding and achieving spiritual transformation. Alchemy. Often described as the art of transformation, alchemy is concerned with the transmutation of base materials into noble ones, as well as the refinement of the soul. In alchemical terms, the ultimate goal is to create the Philosopher's Stone, a legendary substance that can turn lead into gold and grant eternal life. Symbolically, the Philosopher's Stone represents the achievement of spiritual perfection and enlightenment. Alchemy involves the transformation of the self, the purification of the soul, and the ascent to higher states of consciousness. Astrology. According to the Hermetic tradition, astrology is the study of the influences of the stars and planets on earthly events. The heavens and the movements of celestial bodies are seen as reflections of the divine mind, and by understanding the astrological cycles, we can better align ourselves with the forces of nature. The interplay between the celestial and the terrestrial, as above so below, is a key part of the alchemical process. The alignment of the stars and planets can influence not only material events but also the process of spiritual awakening. Theurgy. Theurgy is the practice of invoking divine powers or working with spiritual beings to achieve union with the divine. It is the most spiritual of the three Hermetic disciplines, focusing on the mystical and esoteric aspects of the human experience. Through theurgy, practitioners seek to elevate their consciousness and commune with higher realms of existence. In the context of the Emerald Tablet, theurgy represents the final stage of spiritual transformation, where the soul transcends the material world and attains divine knowledge. Together, these three parts of wisdom form the foundation of alchemical practice. They offer a path not only for transforming physical substances but also for achieving spiritual enlightenment. Each discipline plays a role in the great work, the alchemist's quest to perfect both matter and spirit. Alchemy is often described as a process of transformation, a journey from a state of impurity or imperfection to one of purity and perfection. This process is mirrored in the great work of spiritual transformation, in which the soul undergoes a series of stages to achieve enlightenment. While different alchemical traditions describe the process in varying ways, a common framework involves 7 key stages, which correspond to both the physical work of the alchemist and the spiritual journey of the seeker. Calcination. This is the process of breaking down the ego and dissolving attachments to material things. In the laboratory, calcination involves heating a substance to burn away impurities. Spiritually, it represents the destruction of false beliefs and the purification of the soul. Dissolution. In this stage, the remnants of the ego are dissolved, and the practitioner begins to embrace the fluid nature of reality. Dissolution involves breaking down the solid structures of the self, allowing for a deeper exploration of unconscious material. Separation. This is the process of isolating the pure essence from the impure. In the laboratory, it involves separating different substances. Spiritually, separation refers to the practice of distinguishing the essential divine aspects of the self from the ego-driven material aspects. Conjunction. In this stage, the purified elements are reunited to form a new whole. Conjunction represents the union of opposites, masculine and feminine, light and dark, and the integration of the soul's higher and lower aspects. Fermentation. This stage involves the process of spiritual rebirth. Fermentation begins with the death of the old self, followed by the emergence of new life. In alchemy, fermentation often involves allowing a substance to decompose and then regenerate, symbolizing the death and rebirth of the spirit. Distillation. Distillation is the process of refining the essence, further purifying the soul. In the laboratory, it involves heating a substance and collecting its pure vapor. Spiritually, it represents the ascent to higher states of consciousness and the refinement of one's inner being. Coagulation. The final stage, coagulation, is the point at which the alchemist has completed the great work. The soul has been purified and perfected, and the practitioner achieves union with the divine. Coagulation represents the realization of spiritual enlightenment and the attainment of the philosopher's stone. Each of these stages corresponds to a specific aspect of spiritual development, and together they describe the alchemical path toward enlightenment. The work of the alchemist is a metaphor for the inner transformation that each individual must undergo to reach spiritual perfection. At its core, the Emerald Tablet is a guide to spiritual transformation. While its teachings are often couched in the language of alchemy and the physical sciences, the real message of the tablet is about the transformation of the self, the purification of the soul and the ascent to higher states of consciousness. Alchemy, in this sense, is not just about turning lead into gold, but about turning the lead of the human soul into the gold of divine enlightenment. The process of alchemical transformation, as outlined in the Emerald Tablet, mirrors the journey of spiritual awakening. Just as the alchemist seeks to refine and purify material substances, the spiritual seeker must undergo a process of purification and refinement, shedding the ego and embracing the divine essence within. Through this process, the seeker comes to understand the true nature of reality and the interconnectedness of all things. In the next part of this series, we will delve deeper into the symbolic language of the Emerald Tablet and explore its connections to other mystical traditions, as well as its practical applications for personal growth and transformation. By unlocking the power of this ancient text, we can begin to understand the secrets of alchemy and how they can be used to achieve both material success and spiritual enlightenment. While alchemy is often associated with the transmutation of physical substances, like turning lead into gold, the deeper, spiritual essence of alchemy has always been about the transformation of the soul. The Emerald Tablet, in particular, speaks to this inner work. It provides a framework not just for changing material elements but for achieving spiritual enlightenment by transforming the lead of our lower selves, the ego, material desires and earthly attachments, into the gold of our higher selves, divine consciousness and unity with the cosmos. The Emerald Tablet's cryptic language hides within it profound metaphysical insights about the nature of reality and the path to spiritual realization. To grasp the tablet's true meaning, one must look beyond the literal interpretation of the words and understand the symbolism. Alchemists believed that the mysteries of the cosmos could not be easily expressed in ordinary language, so they often used metaphors, allegories, and symbols to convey truths that had to be experienced rather than merely understood intellectually. The relationship between the microcosm and the macrocosm. One of the most significant teachings of the Emerald Tablet is the idea that the microcosm, the individual, is a reflection of the macrocosm, the universe. The well-known phrase, as above, so below, expresses this fundamental alchemical belief that what happens on a small scale is reflected in the larger structure of the universe, and vice versa. This idea is not only central to alchemy but also to many mystical traditions, from Hermeticism to Kabbalah, which emphasize the interconnectedness of all things. In practical terms, the microcosm-macrocosm relationship teaches that our inner world, our thoughts, emotions and spiritual state, affects and mirrors the external world. Similarly, the external forces of the universe, astrological movements, cosmic cycles, natural laws, influence our inner lives. Understanding this relationship is key to the alchemical process of spiritual transformation. It suggests that by transforming ourselves, we are also participating in a universal process of transformation, aligning ourselves with the natural flow of the cosmos. The idea that the universe operates according to universal principles that are reflected within the self means that spiritual seekers can study both the natural world and their own inner experience to discover these laws. Alchemy, then, is not just a science of matter but a science of spirit, a way of understanding how the processes of nature can guide us toward higher states of consciousness. The 7 Hermetic principles and their connection to alchemy. While the Emerald Tablet outlines the basic principles of Hermeticism, these ideas are further elaborated in the 7 Hermetic principles, often associated with the work known as the Kybalion. These principles provide a broader context for understanding the cosmic laws that govern both the material and spiritual worlds, and they are deeply connected to the transformative process described in the Emerald Tablet. The principles are: the principle of mentalism. This principle states that the universe is mental in nature, that all things are a manifestation of the divine mind. The idea that all is mind is crucial for understanding how alchemy works. Since reality is fundamentally a mental construct, change can be initiated through the mind. The alchemist uses this principle to transform both their external reality and internal consciousness. The principle of correspondence. This principle echoes the famous line from the Emerald Tablet, as above, so below. It teaches that the same laws that govern the macrocosm govern the microcosm. The processes of the universe are reflected in the individual. By understanding this correspondence, the alchemist learns to work with the natural laws of the universe to achieve transformation on all levels. The principle of vibration. This principle suggests that everything in the universe is in a state of constant motion or vibration. Nothing is truly at rest. The different rates of vibration determine the form and energy of all things, from the densest matter to the highest forms of spiritual energy. The alchemist must learn to raise their vibrational frequency to achieve higher states of being and consciousness. The principle of polarity. The principle of polarity teaches that everything exists in opposites: hot and cold, light and dark, positive and negative. These opposites are actually different degrees of the same thing, and understanding this allows the alchemist to reconcile opposites within themselves, achieving balance and harmony. The principle of rhythm. Everything in the universe operates in cycles: birth and death, rise and fall, creation and destruction. This principle teaches that rhythm is inherent in all things, and the alchemist learns to understand and work with these cycles, rather than resist them. By doing so, they can maintain spiritual equilibrium even in the face of life's challenges. The principle of cause and effect. Every action has a corresponding reaction, whether on the physical or spiritual plane. The alchemist recognizes that nothing happens by chance and that understanding the laws of cause and effect allows one to master their destiny. The principle of gender. This principle states that gender exists in all things. Everything has masculine and feminine aspects, whether in the material or spiritual realm. The alchemist seeks to balance these energies within themselves to achieve wholeness. These 7 principles serve as a guide for the alchemical process of personal and spiritual transformation. By working in harmony with these cosmic laws, the alchemist is able to initiate change within themselves and the world around them. The three alchemical essentials: sulfur, mercury, and salt. Alchemy teaches that all of matter, and by extension all of the self, can be reduced to three essential components known as the tria prima: sulfur, mercury, and salt. These are not literal substances but rather metaphors for different aspects of the self and the universe. Sulfur. Sulfur represents the active principle, associated with the qualities of fire and passion. In spiritual terms, it corresponds to the soul or the driving force behind personal transformation. Sulfur is the part of us that seeks growth, expression, and creativity. Mercury. Mercury is the volatile principle, representing the fluid and changeable nature of the mind and emotions. It is associated with air and water and is symbolic of consciousness itself, the ability to think, reflect, and adapt. Spiritually, Mercury represents the spirit, the bridge between the body and the soul. Salt. Salt represents the fixed principle, the material and structural aspect of the self. It corresponds to the body and the physical world. Salt is the stabilizing force, providing the foundation for both physical existence and spiritual growth. These three elements, sulfur, mercury, and salt, are present in all things, and the alchemist's work involves balancing and harmonizing these forces. The tria prima is central to the process of spiritual alchemy, in which the individual seeks to harmonize their body, mind, and soul, ultimately achieving the philosopher's stone, a symbol of perfected and unified consciousness. The emerald tablet also implicitly references the four classical elements: earth, water, air, and fire. These elements correspond not only to physical substances but also to different aspects of the self and the stages of the alchemical process. Earth represents stability in the material world. It is associated with the body and with grounding energy. In the alchemical process, earth symbolizes the starting point, the base material or the unrefined self. Water. Water is the element of emotion and the unconscious mind. It is fluid, adaptable, and cleansing. In alchemical terms, water represents the dissolution of the ego and the beginning of purification. Air corresponds to thought and the intellect. It is light and expansive, representing the ability to rise above material concerns and see things from a higher perspective. In the alchemical process, air is linked to the distillation of wisdom and clarity. Fire. Fire is the element of transformation and the driving force of change. It is associated with passion, will, and action. In alchemical terms, fire represents the calcination stage, where the self is purified through the flames of personal challenge and spiritual trial. By working with these elements in a symbolic way, the alchemist seeks to bring all aspects of their being into harmony. This process involves the continual purification of the self, where the lower aspects of human nature are burned away, dissolved and transformed into something more refined, leading to spiritual enlightenment. In conclusion, the Emerald Tablet offers profound insights into both alchemical and spiritual transformation, teaching that the process of inner change mirrors the workings of the universe. Through its symbolic language, it guides the seeker on a path of personal growth, revealing that by harmonizing the body, mind, and soul, we can unlock higher states of consciousness. The principles of alchemy, as outlined in the tablet, are timeless, offering practical wisdom for achieving balance, unity, and spiritual enlightenment in our modern lives. By embracing this ancient knowledge, we can transform not only ourselves but also our understanding of the world around us.